More analysis on what's to come next. France 24's international affairs editor and royal expert Philip Turle joins me on set. Good morning, Philip.
Good morning, Erin.
So we just heard Catherine say that her death came as a huge shock. Do you agree with that? Do you think that her death at this point in time came as a surprise?
Well, we're talking about a very elderly lady, 96 years old, who it's quite obvious has been in failing health for quite a while, especially since the death of her husband in April last year, the Duke of Edinburgh. You have to remember also that the Queen got COVID and has been suffering from reduced mobility for quite a few months now. We didn't see her really during the Jubilee celebrations, only two very brief appearances, one where she lit some lights when she was pushing a button. That was at Windsor Castle. And then the second time in this video where she's having a cup of tea with Paddington Bear, which was pre-recorded, but she wasn't present at any of the festivities to mark her 70 years on the throne. She also had to miss the Highland Games in Scotland, something she never does or has never done in the past. So there was growing concern that something was wrong and that the Queen was not in the best of health. So it's always a shock when this kind of announcement finally happens or comes, because somewhere down the line, there's a feeling that Elizabeth II, because she's been around for so long, because, as you were saying, most people who are under the age of 80 have no recollection of anybody else being on the throne in the United Kingdom. She has a certain air of immortality about her, where you can't believe that one day she's going to disappear. So that day has finally come. And of course, many people were prepared for it. But when the announcement finally does happen, then there is still the shock and the surprise that we're confronted with the death of a monarch, and now things are going to radically change. So I think that explains why people are so emotionally upset. She had a very big place in the hearts of millions of people, not only in the United Kingdom, but also all the way around the world. And there is a need for an outpouring of grief in this kind of time and situation to mark the passing of someone who has been the longest-serving monarch and broken very many records as far as the royal family is concerned.
It's interesting, Philip, because it sounds like, we'll talk about this, but that the country has a lot of time to grieve. It'll be marked with official ceremonies, a state mourning, etc. But the transition happens relatively quickly. The royal family and the rest of the royal family now, it sounds like, almost has to get on with preparing for what's next.
Well, that's absolutely right. And the transition is immediate. The minute that Queen Elizabeth II died, her son Charles became Charles III. The only thing we didn't know was he going to call himself Charles, or was he going to choose another of his names? Charles, Philip, Arthur, George. You know, he could have chosen any one of those names to be the king of a different name. Many people thought he might choose the name George in honour of his father, George VI, but he's going to be Charles III. That was what was announced yesterday. So he is already the monarch, and I imagine is already making plans about what he's going to do, first of all, during the next 10 days or so, during the mourning period and the funeral of his mother, and then afterwards, or once he takes her place and assumes all his official duties.